Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of A Cup of Laurenade. For my lovely listeners on Spotify, you cannot see me currently, but I am wearing my sunglasses because it is literally so bright. If I try and record this, I'm really going to damage my eyes, but we love natural lighting, so I'm just going to have to wear my sunglasses. And yeah, if you want to see me wearing sunglasses whilst doing my podcast, head over to YouTube. But yes, hello everybody. I hope you're all doing well this week. I've got a lovely cup of Yorkshire tea with me. And yes, it is very, very bright as I am recording this a little bit later in the day as the sun is beginning to set. But I didn't want to use any artificial lighting, so I'm just wearing sunglasses and that's what we're going with today. Hi. Oh, yeah. My poor blue eyes cannot really deal with the sun very well. So it's a look. It's like we're relaxing on the beach. I wish I was bloody relaxing on the beach right now, but I'm not. But anyway, as I'm sure you've all seen by the title, we are going to be talking about beauty standards this week. And I think we're continuing with a very good theme of podcast episodes, talking about beauty, talking about self-acceptance, self-care. And so the only logical kind of continuation of that for me was talking about beauty standards. And it was a topic that actually came up when I had my friend Taz on last week, and something I would love to do another episode on with her also, but I couldn't really wait, and I wanted to talk about beauty standards a little bit this week with you guys. Okay, as always with my podcast, we are starting off with Ick of the Week. And this week, my ick is people being fake. Now, this is a bit of a weird one because I am someone who really likes polite people and, just being kind in general. Like, I feel like I'm a kind person to as many people as possible and always try to be polite, but I think there's a level before it becomes a little bit fake. And yeah, so I don't know, I've just been feeling it a lot recently. And since I work in social media and stuff like that, there are chances to meet a lot of people. And I don't know, I just been getting the ick recently from people being like overly fake, or not even just two-faced, just that feeling of someone like you don't know whether or not they're very genuine. And so that's my ick this week. I don't know if you guys also feel that. And it's also something that I personally worry about because when I go to events and stuff, I'm always very friendly, very smiley, and I do wonder if it comes across as fake. So maybe I also give people the ick for being fake. That would be very interesting to know because I do worry about that sometimes. But yeah, that's my ick this week. Just getting those vibes, you know what I mean? And an ick sent in by you guys is being rude to the waiter. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is something I cannot stand. And I think if anybody has worked in service before, then they would never do this because I worked in retail for years, and having rude customers was literally like, it was just the bane of my existence at the time because I just don't get why you would be rude to someone who's trying to help you, or just think that you're so much better than someone who's working in the service field. And when people are rude to the waiter, especially like when you're like on a date or something and like your date is rude to the waiter, that is like the biggest ick possible, because it's just like, why do you think you're so much better than this person who's just doing their job? You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a very, very good one. And I'm sure many people will agree with this ick, because being rude to people who are just trying to help you and give you your food is definitely not the way to live. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. And as always, if you have any icks, do drop them down below and let me know. Okie dokie, moving on to the main segment of the podcast. As I said, we are talking about beauty standards today. I feel like this is something that we could talk about for multiple episodes, so I may not be able to talk about everything in this one episode, and if there is something you wish for me to touch on a little bit more, please do let me know down in the comments. Don't hesitate to, give your input also into the episodes. But yeah, I just really wanted to talk about beauty standards because I feel like it's something that's very in your face at the moment in particular. And so that's why we're talking about it today. But beauty standards have been dictating our lives for far too long. In this episode, we're going to start by dismantling the unrealistic expectations society puts on us, discussing historical perspectives, cultural influences, and the media's role in shaping these norms. And it is time to accept and acknowledge that beauty comes in all shapes, sizes, colours, and forms. So, what are beauty standards? So, they are standards set by society, media, social media, fabricating the idea that one particular type of body, facial features, and even skin tone, with only these ideals being seen as beautiful, and often spread continues with diets and workouts designed to achieve these body types, or even, pushing cosmetic surgery or skin bleaching and that kind of thing. Whoops, knocking my mic over. But as most of you will probably know, over time, beauty standards have changed and fitting with the current trends in fashion as well as makeup. And so let's firstly talk about how beauty standards have changed over time, with a particular focus on body type and body shape. So let's firstly talk about the beauty standards over time for women. So let's firstly talk about ancient Egypt. So during this time, ideal women were described as slender, narrow-shouldered, with a high waist and a symmetrical face. Okay. And then moving on to ancient Greece, it completely changed, and the ideal woman was plump, full-bodied, and light-skinned. Then during the Han Dynasty, the ideal woman had a slim waist, pale skin, large eyes, and small feet. Now, small feet were an aspect of Chinese beauty that's continued for hundreds of years, and previously there were women bandaging their feet to, make them smaller, and I think that was very sad that women went to such lengths to feel that they had to fit with these beauty standards even back then. And moving on to the Italian Renaissance, I think a lot of people will know that back then the ideal woman was described as having big breasts, rounded stomach, full hips, and fair skin. So I think during this time, having a full body, seeing that you were eating substantial meals, having light hair and light skin were thought of as superior indications of beauty and probably also wealth. And then moving on to Victorian England. In Victorian England, beautiful women were described as desirably plump, whatever the heck that means, full-figured, but with a cinched waist. So during that time, women were literally, squeezing all of their organs in with a tiny little corset to make their bodies acceptable. Flippin' heck. Okay, now we are getting into the 1900s with the Roaring Twenties. During this time, the ideal woman had a flat chest, downplayed waist, short bob hairstyle, and a boyish figure. So this was a very big change, I think, but during the 1920s, having a more androgynous look was a bit more popular, and having shorter hair really changed that kind of, necessity to have long hair to be seen as beautiful. And so this was a huge change during the Roaring Twenties. However, immediately after, we went back to the polar opposite during the golden age of Hollywood, which I'm sure you're all thinking of Marilyn Monroe, curves, hourglass figure, large breasts, and a teeny tiny waist. And so, Marilyn Monroe was, I think, the epitome of women during that time. And then moving back to the 60s, where it all completely yo-yoed back. The female look was willowy, thin, long legs, and more of an adolescent physique. Concerning. But yeah, I'm reading this off a website, by the way, guys. This is not my opinion. This is just from what I've researched. And then we enter the supermodel era during the 80s, where more of an athletic, curvy, tall, with toned arms kind of look was more celebrated. And there was a bit of a craze during the 80s for all of those exercise videos. You may have seen clips where, they'd be wearing like those brightly coloured leotards and stuff like that. So, exercising is great, but unfortunately it did also see an upswing in anorexia, which was thought by some experts to be caused by the widespread obsession with exercise. And then we head to the 90s, my personal favourite era for reasons other than the beauty standards. But during this time, ideal body type was seen as extremely thin, extremely pale, and androgynous. So kind of the very Kate Moss kind of look, the dark circles, the skeleton-like features with the sharp jawline. And then nowadays, so at the moment, I think beauty standards for our current time are actually changing again, but for the longest time, having a flat stomach, being healthy, skinny, which whatever the heck that means, I have no idea, having large breasts and a big butt, and also having a thigh gap, because that is extremely possible to do, right? No. But yes, I'm sure you don't need me to tell you, but Kim Kardashian is the poster woman of ideal beauty standards for the modern woman. So nowadays women are expected to be skinny, but not too skinny, with large breasts and a big butt, all whilst having a flat stomach, which is literally just like, how is that even possible? But when we do see women like Kim Kardashian or, Kylie Jenner plastered all over the internet, of course we're going to be like, well, if they can do it, then, why can't I? But however, nowadays there are inklings that the 1990s heroin chic is coming back in trend. And so you will probably have seen when Kim Kardashian removed all of her implants and lost a crazy amount of weight, which was very concerning and also sparked a new trend in a lot of people doing the same. So yeah, this article kind of just shows that the beauty standards are constantly changing. And realistically, no matter what you do, by the time you've, reached the beauty standard, then they're just going to change again. So how about just being comfortable in your own skin and attempting to ignore society's beauty standards? That is going to be the main premise of the episode. Because honestly, beauty standards are just a complete fabrication and a trend in itself. So let's move on from that. Let's talk about the impact on self-esteem that these beauty standards have for us women. So in this segment, I'm going to delve into the profound impact that beauty standards have on our self-esteem. And it's crucial to understand the emotional toll that these beauty standards take on our mental health and well-being. Let's shed some light on the complexities and challenges faced by individuals striving to meet these unrealistic ideals. So, firstly, the emotional toll that it has on yourself with the pressure to conform to beauty standards, which can lead to a myriad of emotional challenges. Research shows that constant exposure to flawless images in media can create feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. Many of us find ourselves trapped in a cycle of comparison, measuring our worth against airbrush magazine covers and filtered social media posts. And studies have shown that this constant comparison often leads to body dissatisfaction, which is a condition where individuals develop negative perceptions of their own bodies. And this dissatisfaction can spiral into anxiety, depression, and even eating disorders. And it's honestly devastating to see so many beautiful people struggling because they don't fit society's narrow definition of beauty. Oh, the sun's gone down a little bit. Okay, so what role does the media have? I don't think you need me to tell you that social media is probably the biggest culprit in this. Okay, so not even just social media, dating back to, you know, when we were reading magazines when we were younger, even advertisements, movies, in all of these like billboards, magazines, adverts on the TV, or even like, you know, main characters in movies, portrayal of idealized bodies can really mess with our own self-image. So let's think about the impact of Photoshop and filters, which create unattainable standards, leaving us feeling like our natural selves are somehow lacking. Now, filters and Photoshop are two things that I detest. I think if you know me personally, you'll know that I cannot stand Photoshop or even using filters. And I, like everybody, fell into the kind of terrified feeling of, oh my gosh, my pictures don't look perfect. Nobody's gonna like them, or nobody's gonna want to follow me if they think I don't look perfect, blah, blah, blah. I've spoken about this before on a previous episode, but I think it's very important to talk about it a little bit more on this episode. But because social media is such a big part of everybody's day-to-day lives, the kind of need and want to look perfect on social media is, you know, pretty rampant. And it's been like this for years. You know, we've been using filters, whether or not they were like silly Snapchat filters or whatever, but we always use them to look, quote unquote, better, in, you know, inverted commas. And I myself was, you know, editing my photos to make my head smaller, to make my chin less defined and a little bit more like, you know, softer. And of course, I was also editing my skin, because that was my biggest insecurity, was my skin. And I was smoothing it and airbrushing it and getting rid of the acne from my photos. And I've been doing this for years. And, you know, if you scroll back to some of my older photos on Instagram, you'll probably be able to tell, because that was the norm for pretty much everybody, to use these apps to kind of edit our photos to make them look better before uploading them. And I'm going to see when the last time that I really edited a photo was. Because here and there I'll brighten my face because it's dark. But I think, yeah, when was this? Around October 2021, I was really airbrushing my, oh my God, who is that? My phone has crashed because it's so annoyed that I did that to myself. Oh dear, oh dear. I do think that it's only since maybe, I think since the start of 2023 was when I really decided to stop editing my photos. I've not heavily edited my photos, in particular my skin, for about, well, I guess almost 2 years now, maybe not quite 2 years, just because it was really, I could tell that it was really getting to me when my pictures would be so smoothed out and perfect on social media, when in fact my skin doesn't actually look like that. And that's why I don't use any filters when I make my makeup or my skincare content, which honestly, if I'd have said that to myself 2 years ago, it would have made me feel, you know, ill that I was putting my bare face out there on the internet. Because when I started YouTube, I remember I was literally Googling and trying to install plugins to make my skin smoother and all of that nonsense, which, you know, is just so sad that you feel like you have to have perfect skin or, you know, perfect body, you know, in inverted commas. There's no such thing as perfect body or perfect skin, but that is actually terrifying. And yeah, Photoshop. And unfortunately, I live in a country where Photoshop is incredibly normal. They Photoshop their flipping ID images. Like when I went to get my passport photo, the guy was trying to, quote unquote, make my face symmetrical because it wasn't symmetrical. And I was like, this is for my passport. It's for my passport. It has to look like me. But that's just the norm. And I've seen a lot of people call it just like enhancing what you actually look like or making you look more like yourself. But I think they're just saying that to make themselves feel maybe slightly better, but it is extremely concerning. Very, very concerning. I know in the UK, if you were trying to edit your passport photo, I think it would be a very serious issue. But yeah, it's just something so normalized here, and the automatic filters that get put on to TikTok here are a joke. I literally look like an alien, and they're just like the automatic filters that are on any kind of camera app here. Even Samsung phones have these automatic kind of like beauty filters on them, and I'm just like, why? You know, the image that you see when you're taking a picture of yourself is not how you actually look. How are you ever going to be satisfied with what you actually look like if that's the only image of yourself that you're seeing all the time? And I'm really, really glad that I realized this and started to, you know, just take selfies without a filter, stop editing my photos, and my self-confidence improved so quickly. And now if I look at photos, like airbrush photos of myself, I'm literally like, ew. And that is what I want all of you to feel like also. I know it's really hard to kind of take that first step, but I promise it gets easier, and you will really start to see how beautiful you truly are if you just let go of the filters a little bit. I promise. If me, you know, who has acne, pretty bad acne on my face, if I can come to accept it, then I really truly believe that you also can. And I promise you look a million times better without the editing and the filter, because you're beautiful no matter what. That was cute. Wow, I really just went on one. But yeah, also these filters could also make you, you know, there's an app that's so commonly used in Korea called Snow, and you can even edit your body and, like, you know, make your legs longer, make your waist slimmer and all of this. And I was doing that for years and years and years, and it's actually devastating because as I was doing it, I was thinking like, I'm never going to be able to, you know, actually achieve this kind of body when I'm just here editing it, when I could be, you know, doing something more useful with my time, like appreciating the way that I actually look. And, you know, this is the body that gets me out of bed every morning. This is the body that takes me to work. This is the body that allows me to go and travel the world. So there's more important things than how your body looks, which I know is so easy to say it. I think it really does start from within, and also attempting to ignore all of these horrible standards, because I can tell you that a lot of these, I don't know, beauty, okay, well, I don't need to tell you. I know for a fact that loads of beauty creators use filters in their content, but more the kind of like, what is it, like the workout creators, or just like any of those Instagram models. We've even seen proof that the Kardashians are editing their flipping photos. Like, how much more evidence do you need to just kind of realize like it's all fake? And I know it can be really hard to kind of accept it when we're looking at it every day, and maybe the editing is so good that you can't tell, but nobody looks like that, okay? Everybody has a little bit of rolls. Everybody has a little bit of a tum-tum, okay? Sucking in your tummy can do a lot. Editing can do a lot. We have to fit our organs in our body. Our body, our stomach, it's carrying all of the organs, okay, guys? Wow, it's just, it makes me so sad that this is just what life is like for women. It genuinely breaks my heart. So, breaking the cycle. So, as I've mentioned, I really did try and work hard to break the cycle. As I've managed to kind of accept it for myself, I do really try and kind of spread this message that you don't need a flip-in filter to be beautiful, because you're already beautiful. Okay, So let's talk about the importance of self-compassion and embracing our unique qualities. So the main thing that I really picked up was practicing self-compassion involves treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would give to a close friend. So all of these horrible things that you're maybe saying to yourself, just take a step back and think, would you ever say that to your best friend? If yes, then you've got some serious issues that you need to sort out. But most of the time you will say no, in which case, why the heck are you talking to yourself that way? Just why? Why would you talk badly about yourself if that's not something you would say to somebody else? It's actually dreadful that we can so easily be so unkind to ourselves when we should be treating ourselves with the most kindness and understanding out of anybody in our lives. So I think for me, it was really important to say nice things when I look at myself in the mirror. It's very easy to just be like, that spot is so ugly, it's so red. Are you able to go outside with that, pimple showing? And people are going to think that you have a mountain range on your face and whatever like that. Instead of saying things like that, just be like, okay, you look flipping beautiful today. You are a slay. I know it feels weird. It feels weird, okay? Because we're so used to just being so self-deprecating, but that changes today. If you're listening here, I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and just tell yourself that you're beautiful. Okay, even if you don't believe it right now, I can tell you that 6 months down the line, you're going to really be believing it. Even in a few days, you're really going to start believing it. And once you put this kind of energy into yourself as you would to your best friend, you don't tell your best friend that they look like crap, do you? You tell your best friend that they look beautiful because they do look beautiful. So why can you not say that to yourself? Okay? We should really be trying to love ourselves unconditionally because the people around us appreciate us for more than our looks. And at the end of the day, I think somebody said this to me recently when I was really struggling with my skin was, at the end of the day, when you're, dead and gone, God forbid, but nobody's going to be thinking about, oh, Lauren had really bad acne. They're going to be thinking about all the amazing and kind things that you do as a person. They're not going to be thinking about your appearance or your biggest insecurities because at the end of the day, most people aren't even thinking about them anyway. It's just yourself. So let's also start trying to be kinder to ourselves, please, everybody. The sun has finally gone out of my eyes now, so I can actually open them, which is lovely. Flippin' egg, I'll know not to record the podcast at this time in the future because my eyes were hurting so much. Okay, so let's talk about redefining beauty. I myself do pride myself as a creator who's really pushing for acne positivity and, just being kinder to yourself because I was very self-deprecating and very dreadful towards myself for so long, and now I'm finally starting to accept myself how I am, and I really want to spread that message to everybody because nobody deserves to feel like they're not good enough because you're all good enough. And so I'm just going to recommend a few creators for you guys. I have done that before when we were talking about life with adult acne, but I want to share more also about body positivity rather than just acne positivity because I know my content does focus on acne positivity, but in terms of body positivity, there are so many amazing creators out there, but one of the most popular is Megan Jane Crab, whose Instagram is an absolute haven of body positivity, challenging societal norms, encouraging us to love our bodies regardless of size. So her journey kind of shows how she went from self-hatred to self-love. It's really encouraging and shows that beauty knows no size. And she reminds everybody that all bodies are good and we should really cherish and nurture ours because they take us through everything, okay? Our legs, they can walk us up hills, they can ride bikes, they can do everything, you know. Our body is here. They're looking after our organs, which are keeping us going and living. So I really do love body positive content like that. I also do follow a somewhat smaller creator from London called Katie Hoyle or Katie Hoyley. I'm not really sure how to pronounce her name. I'm really, really sorry, but I will, leave everybody's accounts down below so you can check them out. She's a kind of like vintage thrifting, styling creator, but she is a mid-sized woman, and you don't really find a lot of accounts like this. And most of the most popular fashion influencing girlies are literally teeny tiny, and fair play to them. That is their beautiful body also. Like, no shame. We don't do skinny shaming here either. Every single type of body is beautiful. However, for me personally, it's very difficult to, only see creators like that. Obviously, I follow creators of all shapes and sizes, but I'm just trying to recommend a diverse range of creators because, yeah, I feel like thank you to societal beauty standards, a lot of these creators don't really get as much recognition. But yeah, she does a lot of thrifting content, a lot of styling. Like, I adore her style, and I recommended her to Odessa, and Odessa is obsessed. So that's what we love to see, is recommending these great creators to friends. So I also want to recommend them to you guys also. She's great. She has really good style. Okay, another creator who I kind of saw blow up at the time, I'm very, very happy for her, is a creator called Ashira, or on Instagram, Ashparaskevas. I'm probably butchering that. She is a creator who really does tackle like body positivity, as she was previously a model, and she went through a lot of struggles with being a model, and then later went through a big weight gain, but she was creating content about that and helping spread body positivity whilst also improving her mental health at the same time. I think she really did go through a lot of struggles. I don't know her personally, so I can't really comment on it, but I do remember seeing her content, and it was very refreshing at the time. And, she still creates amazing content now to this day. And she just talks a lot about well-being. And I really, really do like her content a lot. She seems like a very bubbly and a very kind person as well. So I do recommend following her if you want some help in building self-love. She does a lot of self-love exercises and body positivity exercises, and a lot of things to help if you are suffering with other mental health issues. She really does do a lot of content about that. So I highly, highly, highly recommend following her as well. And like I said, I will leave everybody's links down below. And next, we're going to talk about skin positivity, which is something that I myself do love creating content about and will continue to create content about. But there are a lot of great creators making content about this. A creator that I've mentioned a lot of times, but Izzy Rogers is a British creator, and she makes amazing body positivity and acne positivity content, and she's literally one of my favorite creators. So 100% you need to go and give her a follow because she is amazing. And yeah, let's next talk about diversity in the beauty industry. So it's not just individuals, but also the beauty industry, makeup industry. They really need to take responsibility for a lot of this. And thank goodness for one amazing lady called Rihanna and her, launching of Fenty Beauty. But Fenty Beauty's extensive range of shades for all skin tones really did, redefine inclusivity in makeup. And honestly, that should be the standard. Fenty Beauty have really redefined this kind of baseline of how it should be in inclusivity in makeup. So honestly, thank goodness for Rihanna. Unfortunately, I live in a country which is rather homogenous, so the shade inclusivity is not really a thing here. But finally, Sephora is a thing here. But, you know, it would be great if there were some slightly more inexpensive products available for everybody, because everybody deserves access to, you know, makeup that is suitable and desirable for them. So please, can you do a little bit more, brands? Please, please, please. But yeah, it is really great that Fenty Beauty exists, and Rihanna's amazing. I'm lastly just going to talk about how we can, you know, practice some self-compassion and positive affirmations, mindfulness and body positivity. I did kind of briefly talk about this, but for definite one, positive affirmations. So just start off your day by affirming your worth, beauty, and uniqueness. And also, we need to practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with kindness and understanding, especially during your moments of self-doubt. Remember that it's okay to be imperfect, because that is what makes you beautifully human. Because there is no such thing as perfection. We are all beautiful in our own unique ways. And mindfulness techniques can teach you how to stay present and appreciate your body for what it can do rather than how it looks. So like I said a million times, like if you're struggling with, you know, your legs, these legs are the ones that take you to work, the ones that you can hike a mountain with, that you can ride a bike with, that you can do all of these amazing things with. And yeah, rather than just thinking about how something looks, really focus on what it does and how it works for you, and how that's just amazing in itself. Another mindfulness thing that I would point out, that I have, you know, spoken about before, but if there are people on social media, could be your friends, could be just, you know, influencers that you follow, if when you're looking at it and looking at their stuff, if it makes you feel terrible, just unfollow them. If it's a very close friend, then you could always mute them if you don't want to look at their content. And I have done that in the past, and I will not apologize for it, because at the end of the day, I just don't want to make myself feel worse about myself. So don't feel bad about unfollowing or muting people, because at the end of the day, your own, you know, self-worth and self-being is much more important than some silly Instagram account. Just saying. But yeah, also engaging in activities that make us feel alive can definitely strengthen the mind-body connection. Hiking, I bloody love hiking, because it really does help me appreciate, like, wow, my body can do this. It can bring me to the top of this mountain and do all of that for me. And also, working out makes you feel amazing at the same time. I think I've not even managed to touch on everything, like, at all. I could talk about this for multiple episodes, but if there's anything else that you would like me to kind of discuss on this topic, please do let me know, because I would be more than happy to do another episode on it, because I think there's so much more that I could talk about. And I'm sorry that if I've missed something out, please do let me know. I did try my best to squeeze as much as I can into a roughly 1 hour episode of this podcast. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for listening. Please do remember that you're beautiful, and treat yourself with the same kindness that you do to others. And embracing your imperfection is how you learn to love yourself. Okay, and lastly, moving on to the last segment of the podcast with This Week in Korea, something that I did predict a few weeks back when we were talking about the bus fare increase. The Seoul subway fare is set to rise by 12% beginning this Saturday. So the basic subway fare in Seoul is set to rise by 12% to 1,400 won, which is apparently $1.03 from the current 1,250 won. Now, it may not seem like a lot, but over the month is really going to rack up the transportation fees. The increase in the bus prices have already like really taken a toll on my like monthly travel spending. So now with the subway also increasing, that's not great. Another 11.1% hike price hike for children is also going to be implemented for the first time in 16 years. So the basic fare for kids aged 13 and 18 will rise from 721 to 801, and those between ages 6 and 12 will be charged 500, up from 451. And those older than 65 will be able to travel for free as always. So they're not affected by the price increase, which is, a somewhat good thing. But yeah, I'm very intrigued to see how this price increase is going to affect everybody, because the cost of living crisis is real, everyone. But yeah, that is it for this week's episode of A Cup of Laurenade. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I would absolutely love to have a guest on to talk about this, because I think it's a very prevalent topic, especially in the country that I live in, that is very beauty standard focused. If you would like a whole separate episode talking about Korean beauty standards, I would love to deep dive into that if that is something that you're interested in. But as always, please do hit that follow button on Spotify, drop me a comment, subscribe to me on YouTube, and I will see you guys in a new podcast episode next week. I hope you're all happy, healthy, and feeling fantastic wherever you are. And yeah, I'll see you. Bye-bye.